What was your favorite movie as a child? I lived on a remote island in the late 80s, a territory of Australia but deep in the Indian Ocean, a population of about 2,000. Mostly Chinese Malay backgrounds and language. A plane would come in once a week with fresh food and a ship occasionally with household goods or shelf-stable food. We had a video rental counter at the shop, with a small selection of videos. Moonwalker, an obscure Michael Jackson movie, was our favorite. The first I can think of is Eurotrip. I watched it a million times and laughed so hard every single time. But today, I just think it's a stupid, mediocre comedy. I guess some things are way more funny when you are a kid. An animated movie that I loved and still love is The Fox and the Hound. I watched it on videotapes, and I was so captivated with the friendship between Todd and Copper, and I never forgot them. The Neverending Story. I recently showed it to my 7-year-old daughter, and as I was watching it, thinking to myself, boy, this movie really doesn't hold up. It's slow. The effects are cheesy. Atreyu keeps screaming all of his lines. For some reason, I look over at my daughter and she is entranced by it. Hearing her yell out, "Run Atreyu, run," was better than actually watching the. Okay, so there's this movie called Hercules. Except it's not the 1997 Disney one. This one was made in 1995 by some studio called Good Times Entertainment. Used to love watching it at my grandma's house. It was the kind of movie your grandma would buy for you to watch when you visit her. Dumb and Dumber. When I was 8, I was taken to Isma's party for my father's work, and I got to open a present under the tree, and it was Dumb and Dumber. I watched it so much that I ruined the VHS cassette. To this day I still laugh hysterically at some scenes in the movie. The replies show the different Redditors' age is pretty well hair. For me, it depends of age. That Disney's Fantasia, Short Circuit, Star Wars, Indiana Jones, Princess Bride, Gremlins, Ghostbusters, Labyrinth was pretty interesting. Thanks to Dear David. The Purge movies. I never really watched movies like that when I was young. But like 10 years old I started watching the Purge movie. And that's how I grew to love thriller, horror movies. Trust me, I'm not a pie show. I just love a good scare. Labyrinth with David Bowie and Disney's Alice in Wonderland. I watched them on a VHS tape. Alice, at least 6 times a week, and Labyrinth, at least 4 times a week. Every week for about 3 years. I was addicted and sent my family crazy. Favorite movie that I only get to see once in a cinema: Star Wars. Never saw it again until much later on VCR as an adult. Favorite movie that I watched many times on TV: 633 Squadron. Both movies are somewhat related. BTW. Hulk, and I'm offended that Spielberg hates it. Best portrayal of Hulk ever by Hoffman. Williams is always wonderful. Rufio is iconic. Music is wonderful. And the little girl always reminded me of my sister. Such a great movie. This is going to sound bad, but we had a cable box that allowed us to watch pay-per-view for free and as often as we wanted. I became obsessed with Event Horizon as a child and probably watched it 3 or 4 dozen times. Pretty sure it was Jurassic Park. I used to just binge watch that days straight. I can now safely saw how every character dies, and all the original deaths in the first drafts of the movie. For live actions, I loved Chucky, the Terminator franchise, Mirrors, Drag Me Down to Hell, X-Men, and Triple X. For cartoons, Beauty and the Beast and the Little Mermaid, Ariel's Beginning. The list includes but is not limited to Labyrinth, Dark Crystal, Flight of the Navigator, Short Circuit, Batteries Not Included, Goonies, Cocoon, Foottrip Flats, The Dog's Tale, Flubber. Wanted to become a chemist because of that movie. I'm an engineer now because building a Weibo is so much easier than synthesizing Flubber and doesn't kill your marriage. The Adventures of Milo and Otis. I watched it all the time until my parents decided to be dicks one day and loaned my copy of the tape to some friends who were moving out of town. The Lion King, Hercules, Spirit, Pocahontas, The Princess Bride. I still adore these movies to this day, and I'd be lying if I said I stopped watching them when I grew up. Flight of the Navigator. I'm afraid to watch it now for fear of it losing the awesomeness that it is in my memory. Think I'll just hold onto it without potentially ruining it. Both Tremors and Jaws. The dialogue made me laugh, and the monsters were cool. I could quote Jaws front to back and tell you all about the life cycle of a grey boy. WALL-E, first and only movie I could immerse into and read between the lines as I got older. It's super nostalgic for me, and is a main part of my childhood. Every year I look forward to the Tom and Jerry Christmas special. Other than that, I had a particular love for literally any of the Pokémon movies. I think I liked some weird movies as a kid. At least it was weird to other people. Tron, Alien Planet, and I guess the first SpongeBob movie, Kid Burger. I can pretty much recite every line along with the movie. Me and my partner had a fantastic night watching the new second one too. The Ronald McDonald VHS movies they sold at McDonald's. The camping one was unmatched. Thomas and the Magic Railroad, the Rugrats movie. As a child, my favorite movie was the eternal loading screen, because every time I tried to watch something, my brain needed an update. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Our local video store had 2 copies. I'd rent one, and then when we returned our tapes, I'd rent the other one. World War Z. I watched like 10 times because it was the only zombie movie my mom would watch with me, probably because of Brad Pitt. Dragon Ball Z BoJack Unbound. To this day, I don't know why, but I watched that movie at least 100 times before I was in high school. Star Wars was pretty much on repeat weekly at my house. That, and I think Close Encounter of the Third Kind. Betamax was wonderful. Those Callaways. It was a Disney movie in the 60s that was filmed near my house, and I watched the scene with the Wolverine, the unfinished dance with Margaret O'Brien and the red shoes. I starting dancing school right after watching those movies. Toss up between Sword in the Stone and the animated Robin Hood. I'm in my 40s and still marathon those to every year. The Effect Butterfly and 28 Weeks Later. Now I recognize that they have many inconsistencies. Even to 8DL is bad. Treasure Planet, The Iron Giant, and Atlantis. The holy trinity of severely underappreciated children's movies. The Fox and the Hound, Land Before Time, Space Jam, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin original motion pictures. The Neverending Story, Goonies, RoboCop, Boys in the Hood, Pulp Fiction. My favorite movies before I turn 18. Milo and Otis, and can never watch it again after hearing the animal cruelty that occurred in production. Heat starring Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, Val Kilmer. Terminator 2. First saw it when I was 9. I've lost count of how many times I've seen it since then. Back to the Future 3. Cowboys. Time Machine. Steam Train and Crazy Inventor. This movie had it all. The Rocketeer. So bummed when the same actor played the wife beater in Enough with Jennifer Lopez. I've had a few from time to time. A few examples: Speed Racer, Transformers 2007, Star Trek 2009. Absolutely Cars. I only understand its meaning now that I'm 16. I would have understood it before. I can't remember as a little child, but I remember loving the Rocky movies, especially Rocky IV. I used to love Space Jam, but when I saw it as an adult years later, I found it terrible. The Land Before Time. 3 horns never play with long necks. I Fly. No, You Fooled. Problem Child. Lion King 2. Pocahontas. Lilo and Stitch. Finding Nemo. Quite a few actually. Star Trek VI The Undiscovered Country is still my favorite Star Trek film. Fantastic Mr. Fox. I watched that 5 times a week as a kid, and I have read the book, if specifically the film. Then Avatar, an incredibly colorful and unusual film. A Goofy Movie. Power Rangers, Lion King, Halloween Town, Never Ending Story, Home Alone, Barbie, and I don't remember a lot. I love all the old movies. Castle in the Sky by Miyazaki, watched it so much my parents got annoyed. The Iron Giant. Childhood me would have done anything for a sequel. I can't choose between Coraline and Corpse Bride, both were my faves. Ghostbusters. TMNT. Harry and the Hendersons. Scrambled Cinemax. I like Baby's Day Out and Home Alone. Those days were the best. 1. Fantasia. 2. Fantasia Does Dallas Found in Dad's Drawer. Flushed away, I even had a pet rat named after Ruddy Hahaha. The Cutting Edge. Ice Skating Taming of the Shrew Star Romcom. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles the movie. Still holds up. 2. The Secret of Nim. Bueller's Day Off, Dick Tracy, RoboCop. Finding Nemo. I used to be able to recite the whole thing. Same as my favorite movie now. Foottrip Flats, A Dog's Tale. Star Wars. Goonies. Back to the Future. Better Off Dead. The Truman Show. And it will forever be a favorite. Cars 1, 2, and 3 will forever and ever be my favorite. Fritz the Cat. What can I say? I had shitty parents. Neverending Story. Labyrinth. Goonies. Indiana Jones.